In this lesson, we're going to work through the design of a database for a TodoList application. We will use this database throughout the course and learn Postgres by practicing. I mean, by adding new data, modifying it, removing, and etc. And now, I will quickly show you the features that our application is going to have, then we discuss each of them one by one. Here are the mockups of the application. So here you can see the login page. It is a very simple login page that you see everywhere. Then we have a priorities page. These priorities will help a user to prioritize tasks and use colors. And here is the main page where we see categories and tasks of the user. Okay, let's have a discussion about how we might design the TodoList application database and different tables that might need to exist inside of it. If you are familiar with object-oriented programming, designing database tables is like designing objects in OOP, with some additional stuff like constraints, relations, etc. In my opinion, at the beginning for our application, we should probably make a database that has these 4 tables inside of it. A user table where we are going to save all the users of our application, a task table that is going to hold all the tasks, a priority table where we save all the priorities, and the last one for now is going to be a category table that is going to have data related to category. You may ask, how did I come up with this design and these 4 different tables? It is very important to understand the purpose of the application that you are building. It will help in the database design process a lot. So I know what is the purpose of our app, and as you saw, I have even prepared some mockups for it, and I know more or less how the user interface will look like. By looking at the mockups, I identify the different kinds of resources or features that exist inside of our app. So for each of those different resources or each of those different features, I said I'm going to create a separate table. Then for each of those different resources, I find some kind of relationship or ownership between those different resources. Let's see in action. I have just shown you 3 screenshots out of the mockups of the application. And now I'm going to show you the process that I went through to design the TodoList application. So in this first screenshot right here, we can see that this is a login page. To sign in and log into the application, we need a user that has an email, username, and a password. It is kind of easy to indicate that we have to have a resource or a table of use where we can save our application's users' data. I think you agree with me here and ready to move to the next page. And now take a look at the second screenshot. Once the user logs in, he will see a list of categories and a list of tasks. I think here we can identify that there is some kind of category resource there, or we can say a category table. These categories are owned by a particular user. Users log in and see only those categories that they created. So it immediately starts to identify that there is some kind of relationship between different users and different categories. Next, I see that there is a list of tasks. Because there is a list of tasks right there, this kind of indicates that there is a table or task that are stored in some kind of database. These tasks are tied to the user, like categories. So that indicates that a user somehow owns and has a direct relationship to a number of different tasks that are stored inside the database. I see that tasks can be categorized. So there should be some kind of relationship between these 2 resources. I mean, categories and tasks. Okay. From this third screenshot, I can very easily identify that there is some kind of priorities resource here. So there is presumably somewhere in some database stored a list of priorities. The priorities that I see here are created by the user. The button Add a Priority tells us that a user can add its own priorities. And that indicates there is some kind of relationship between priorities and users. And the priorities that are listed here are priorities created by the particular user. Priorities. We have already seen this somewhere in the previous screenshots. Yeah, it is in the tasks list. The task can be also prioritized and tells us there is some kind of relationship between these 2 tables. Alright, so from these screenshots, we are able to discern different types of resources that might exist inside the application, and the fact that there's some kind of relationship between them. Now, the last thing that I want to do is To show this final diagram, we have established that there are these 4 different resources, tables inside the TodoList application. We have also established that the user is the main resource together with the task. These two use the other 2 tables. We have established that a user somehow creates and owns tasks. We have also established that a user somehow also creates categories and different priorities. In addition, we have established that there are some kind of relationship between tasks and categories, tasks and priorities, because a task can be somehow categorized and prioritized. So we can draw these lines and we can see right away that there is some kind of relationship between records in each of these tables, and that somehow they are expressing either just a plain relationship or some kind of ownership. Never mind the direction of these lines for now, we will cover them later. So now that we have an idea on how to apply the design of a database, let's take this step further and create these tables in the next video.